Humans are not just warriors. They are war itself. That's what a veteran alien commander told his therapist after 3 years of fighting alongside humanity. What he revealed will change how you see our species forever. Picture this. You're a seasoned military officer from an advanced alien civilization. You've fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy. You've seen the bravest warriors from every known species. But then you meet humans for the first time. First, you laugh. These creatures from a tiny blue planet called Earth, they're new to space travel. Their weapons are primitive. Their ships are slow. They should be easy to defeat. You couldn't be more wrong. Commander Zexthol learned this the hard way. This four-eyed, blue-skinned alien commander spent 3 years fighting in the Third Galactic War. He witnessed things that still wake him up screaming in the middle of the night. Things that made him question everything he thought he knew about warfare. But here's what's truly terrifying. Everything you're about to hear actually happened in his reality. Every battle, every impossible victory, every moment when humans proved they're unlike any other species in the galaxy. The first time Zexthol saw humans fight was at Proxima Station. The enemy had attacked with 300 fighters. The humans had 50. Any rational commander would have retreated. But Captain Jake Morrison wasn't rational. He was human. Morrison did something no military academy teaches. While the enemy focused on the main attack, he sent half his soldiers around the back. It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. But here's the thing about humans. They don't see suicide missions. They see opportunities. Lieutenant Amy Sullivan's ship was on fire, her engine destroyed. Instead of ejecting, she flew her burning fighter straight into the enemy's largest vessel. Her sacrifice created the opening Morrison needed. In 10 minutes, 50 humans had defeated 300 alien warriors. But that wasn't the strangest part. After the battle, Zexthol found human medic Lisa Hayes treating wounded soldiers. She had plasma burns covering her arms and legs, injuries that would hospitalize most species for weeks. But she wasn't in a medical bed. She was working, singing songs, telling jokes to keep morale up. When Zexthol told her she needed immediate medical attention, she laughed. Her job was to help others, not worry about herself. She worked for 6 more hours before allowing anyone to treat her life-threatening injuries. And she was happy while doing it. This is when Zexthol began to understand something terrifying about humans. They don't just ignore pain and death. They seem to thrive when facing impossible odds. But wait, it gets worse. During the siege of Alter Prime, Zexthol witnessed something that still haunts him. 50,000 colonists were trapped on a planet. The enemy had brought 200 ships. The humans had 30. General Rick Parker, an old man with white hair and young, angry eyes, gathered his commanders. His plan required everything to go perfectly. If even one small part failed, they would all die. Someone had to destroy the enemy supply depot. It was a one-way mission, certain death. Before Parker could even ask for volunteers, Sergeant Tony Brooks raised his hand. His demolition team could handle it. When Parker confirmed it was a suicide mission, Brooks smiled. He said that just meant they didn't have to worry about saving fuel for the trip home. 12 humans volunteered to die, so 50,000 colonists could live. And they were happy about it. But here's what broke Zexthol's mind. The way the other humans reacted when Brooks' team was killed. They didn't break down. They didn't rage. Staff Sergeant Maria Lopez simply picked up Brooks' mission files and continued working. When Zexthol asked how she could be so calm after losing her friends, Lopez said that Brooks had done his job. Now it was her job to make sure their deaths meant something. That night, Zexthol found Lopez alone in her quarters, looking at a picture of the dead team. She was crying quietly, but the next morning she led another suicide mission. This is what humans do. They grieve in private, then get back to work. The siege lasted months. Zexthol watched thousands of humans volunteer for missions that meant certain death. Pilot Steve Adams flew his damaged fighter into an enemy ship after his life support failed. Communications officer Betty Clark stayed at her post coordinating evacuations even as the command center collapsed around her. But here's the truly terrifying part. Every time someone died, the survivors got more determined. Death made them stronger, not weaker. Of 3,000 human soldiers who defended Alter Prime, only 800 survived. But those 800 had defeated an enemy force 10 times larger, and that's when Zexthol learned something that still gives him nightmares. Everything he'd seen so far was humans fighting normally. He hadn't yet seen what they do when they get angry. On Riel 4, Zexthol met Major Dan Carter. Unlike other human officers, Carter was quiet and cold. His eyes were like winter ice. He didn't plan to attack the enemy bases directly. That would waste lives. Instead, he was going to make the enemy want to leave on their own. Carter had studied alien psychology for years. He knew exactly what scared them. His team began broadcasting sounds into enemy bases at night. Human war songs, battle cries, screams from ancient battles. The aliens had sensitive hearing. These sounds were designed to drive them insane. But that was just the beginning. That Carter's soldiers would sneak close to enemy patrols and leave behind evidence of their presence. A military badge here, a torn uniform there. Sometimes they'd leave photographs, pictures of dead enemy soldiers from other battles. Pictures of human soldiers smiling while standing over alien corpses. The enemy began to believe humans were everywhere, watching them, hunting them. They started shooting at shadows. They stopped going out alone. Then Carter showed them videos of human special forces operations. In one video, a single human soldier named Sergeant Paul Davis attacked an enemy patrol of 12 fighters using only primitive weapons, a knife, a club, his bare hands. Davis killed 11 of the 12 soldiers. He let the last one live on purpose. He wanted that soldier to go back and tell his commanders what he'd seen. One human against 12 trained warriors. Davis moved like a ghost, appearing from shadows and disappearing again. For 3 months, Carter's team of 20 humans terrorized 50,000 enemy soldiers. The aliens never saw more than 1 or 2 humans at a time, but they believed they were surrounded by thousands. Finally, Carter walked into the main enemy base alone and unarmed. He wanted to negotiate. The enemy commander was too terrified to arrest him. Carter sat down and smiled. He had files on every enemy base in the sector. He knew their locations, their defenses, their supply schedules. He'd been planning to do to all of them what he'd done on Riel 4. The result? 50,000 enemy soldiers surrendered to 20 humans without firing a single shot. But even this psychological warfare wasn't the worst thing Zexthol witnessed. That came during the Honor Guard incident. Commander Zexthol was protecting Ambassador Thirndgal during peace talks when enemy extremists attacked the diplomatic compound. 50 heavily armed soldiers assaulted the building while others attacked from the roof. The alien guards followed standard protocol. They fell back to defensive positions and waited for reinforcements. But the 8 humans did the opposite of everything they were taught. Instead of falling back, they advanced toward the enemy. Captain Frank Turner told his team to split up and attack from different directions. Zexthol watched through security cameras as Sergeant Carol Johnson ran directly into enemy fire. She should have died instantly, but she moved like she could see the future, dodging weapons that should have killed her. She was hit multiple times, plasma bolts burned through her armor and her shoulder and leg, but she didn't slow down. While fighting dozens of enemy soldiers, she also carried 7 wounded diplomats to safety, using one hand to shoot and the other to drag injured aliens. By the time she reached the safe room, she'd lost so much blood she could barely stand. But instead of seeking medical attention, she immediately started treating the wounded diplomats. She said she could die later, after everyone else was safe. Meanwhile, Corporal Matt Rogers was fighting in the main corridor. His weapon had been destroyed, but he kept fighting with a piece of broken metal. He held off 3 enemy soldiers using nothing but sharp debris in his environment as weapons. But the worst part was watching Captain Turner. He'd been separated from his team and surrounded by enemy forces. Any normal soldier would have surrendered, Turner smiled. Then he pulled out a grenade and activated it. He killed himself and took 6 enemy soldiers with him. But before he died, he used his radio to give final orders to his team. His last words were instructions on how to complete the mission. Captain Turner died laughing. He was happy that his death would help save the diplomats. How did his team react to hearing their captain die over the radio? They didn't stop fighting. They didn't get emotional. They just followed his final orders. Within 1 hour, 7 humans had defeated 54 enemy soldiers. The attackers were all dead or captured. The diplomats were safe. That night, Zexthol found the surviving humans sitting together in silence. Some were crying. Others stared at the wall. But they filed their mission reports first. They'd secure the area. They treated the wounded. They grieved only after their duty was complete. This is when Zexthol understood that humans can separate their emotions from their duty completely. They can watch their best friends die and keep fighting. They can be hurt and scared and angry, but still do exactly what needs to be done. But he also learned something else that night. He learned what happens when humans stop being professional soldiers and start being angry humans. The next day, they received intelligence about who had planned the attack on the diplomatic compound. The surviving humans asked permission to hunt down the extremist leaders. They were given permission. And that's when Zexthol saw what humans do when they're not just fighting to complete a mission, when they're fighting for revenge. The final battle of the war happened 3 months later. The enemy had gathered their remaining forces for one last attack. 500 ships and 200,000 soldiers. The human forces were much smaller, 100 ships and 50,000 soldiers, but 20,000 of those were humans. Admiral Grace Bennett commanded the human fleet. She was different from other human officers, very calm, spoke softly, but her eyes were like fire. She'd read the reports about the Honor Guard incident. She knew Captain Turner had died protecting diplomats during peace talks. She called a meeting of all commanders. Her voice was still soft and calm, but her words were like ice. She said the enemy had shown they couldn't be trusted. They'd proven they didn't want peace, and if they wanted war, they would get war, but not the kind they expected. The humans were done being professional soldiers. Now, they were going to be themselves. During the battle, Zexthol learned what humans are really like when they stop holding back. They didn't wait for orders. They didn't follow standard tactics. They just fought like wild animals. But with all their intelligence and training intact, Lieutenant Commander Joe Miller was commanding 3 damaged ships simultaneously. His own ship had lost life support, but he kept fighting from the bridge even though he couldn't breathe properly. He'd connected his brain to the computer systems, controlling ship movements and weapons with his thoughts. Engineer Chief Nancy Brown kept damaged reactors running by crawling through radiation-filled engine rooms with no protection, welding broken pipes while plasma fire burned around her. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of failing. Staff Sergeant Roy Campbell led a ground assault that broke every rule of military strategy. He took 500 human soldiers and attacked an enemy force of 10,000 without air support or heavy weapons that Campbell's soldiers moved like ghosts through the battlefield, using every building, every vehicle, every piece of debris as a trap for the enemy. They fought like humans, using tactics no military school teaches. But the most frightening thing was how they worked together. They didn't need to talk. They moved like parts of the same organism. 8 humans would surround an enemy position with 40 defenders, attacking from 8 different directions at exactly the same time, as if they practiced this specific attack for years. The enemy soldiers were completely confused. Every time they focused on one human, 3 others would attack from behind. The humans won, but they didn't just defeat the enemy. They destroyed them completely. For the first time in 3 years of war, there were no prisoners, no survivors. The humans had eliminated every enemy soldier in their sector. This battle was different because this time the humans were truly angry. The enemy had attacked during peace negotiations. They'd killed Captain Turner while he was protecting innocent people. Human justice is absolute. They decided that any species that would attack during peace talks could never be trusted. So they made sure the enemy could never attack anyone again. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the entire enemy fleet was destroyed. All 200,000 soldiers were dead. 7,000 humans died in that battle, but the remaining 13,000 had accomplished something that will be remembered forever. They had ended the threat permanently. The war ended immediately. Every other hostile species in the sector surrendered within 1 week. They'd all heard what happened. They all decided that fighting humans wasn't worth the risk. Admiral Bennett gave one speech after the battle. She said humans preferred peace, but they were very good at war. Anyone who threatened innocent people would face the same fate. Other species believed her because they'd seen the evidence. The enemy fleet wasn't just defeated. It was gone, as if it had never existed. But here's the final twist that makes this story truly terrifying. Humans are the kindest, most generous people you will ever meet. They'll share their food with strangers. They'll risk their lives to save people they don't know. They'll cry when they see others suffering. Commander Zexthol's final assessment? Humans are capable of infinite kindness and infinite violence. The choice of which one you experience depends entirely on how you treat them and the people they care about. That if you are peaceful, humans will be your best friends. But if you threaten innocent people, humans will become your worst nightmare. And they will never stop being your nightmare until you're no longer a threat to anyone. This is what makes humans unique in the galaxy. Other species fight to survive. Humans fight to win, and they will keep fighting until winning is the only possible outcome. They don't accept defeat. Ever. If you hurt them, they'll hurt you back 10 times worse. If you threaten their friends, they'll destroy you completely. If you make them angry, they'll never stop hunting you. Humans are not warriors. They are war itself. They don't just use violence as a tool. Violence is part of their nature, but they control it completely until they decide to let it free. And when they do let it free, entire civilizations disappear. Commander Zexthol told his therapist these stories because he needed someone to understand what he'd witnessed. For 2 years, these memories have been waking him up screaming in the middle of the night. He'd fought beside the bravest soldiers in the galaxy, but humans were different from all of them. When humans go to war, they don't fight to defeat their enemies. They fight to teach their enemies never to fight anyone ever again. That's the terrifying truth about human warriors. We're not just good at war. We're the thing that other species in the galaxy have nightmares about. And the most terrifying part? We're just getting started. The question isn't whether humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The question is what happens when we finally meet another species that can match us in battle. Based on Commander Zexthol's testimony, there's only one answer. We'll find out what happens when an irresistible force meets an immovable object, and the galaxy will never be the same.